In the Serengeti Nature Reserve in Tanzania, there lived an old man named Jabari. He was a former ranger who had dedicated over 50 years to this land, from his youth to his old age. His entire life was devoted to protecting wildlife from poaching, tirelessly fighting to preserve the precious ecosystem here. The local people regarded him as a living legend, not only for his extensive experience but also for his kindness and admirable perseverance. Even after retirement, he maintained the habit of driving his old pickup truck every morning, patrolling the savannah to observe. Young rangers often sought him out as a mentor, a living encyclopedia of the wild. From elephants, lions, giraffes, zebras to rhinos, no species was unfamiliar to him. He particularly cared for the older, weaker individuals living in a safe area, a place considered the nursing home of wildlife. Although his health was declining with the years, Jabari never allowed age to hinder his steps. You are following the story at People and Discovery. We are trying to bring great stories. Subscribe to the channel to support us and follow more. Recently, the weather had become extreme. Midday temperatures could reach as high as 45 degrees Celsius, forcing the animals to find shelter under large trees. Yet that morning, he was determined to check on a wounded rhino from the day before. The truck slowly rolled along the bumpy road through the sun-scorched grasslands. The stifling air caused sweat to pour from him continuously. Upon arrival, he stopped the vehicle, stepped out, and quietly observed. The rhino still looked very weak, its wound unhealed. He approached slowly, his eyes filled with concern and tenderness. But suddenly, he felt a sharp pain radiating from his chest throughout his body. Before he could cry out, he crumpled to the ground, sweat pouring down, his face turning pale. Nearby, two young colleagues, Ao and Malik, were taking care of a herd of zebras when they heard his faint call and rushed over. They found Jabari collapsed on the grass. Ao checked his pulse and noticed that his heartbeat was irregular. Malik searched for the medicine bag but found no familiar heart medication, perhaps he had forgotten to bring it. In an emergency, Ao immediately called the center via radio to request an ambulance. Work paused as everyone rushed to help. The ambulance quickly arrived and took him to the medical station within the reserve. On the way, Ao kept calling his name, hoping he could still hear. But Jabari's breathing had become labored, and his eyes were slowly closing. Once they arrived, the doctors immediately began emergency procedures, from artificial respiration to a defibrillator. After more than 15 minutes of effort in heavy silence, the doctor finally had to announce, his heart had stopped. The news spread like a cold breeze. The entire reserve was stunned. They knew they had lost not just a teacher but also a symbol, a part of the soul of this place. According to Jabari's wishes, the funeral was held right in the reserve, the place where he had lived and died for it. The next morning, under the rising sun, everyone gathered at the temple courtyard, where a simple wooden bed held his body resting peacefully as if asleep. Ao stood beside him, trembling hands clasping Jabari's, his eyes filled with memories. Malik lit an incense stick, whispering a farewell. Suddenly, a deep roar echoed from the temple gate. A large male lion appeared, causing the crowd to panic. But it showed no signs of aggression. With an imposing gaze, it slowly approached the wooden bed. The entire area fell silent. The lion circled around, then stopped at the foot of the bed, bowing its head for a long time as if in mourning. Ao was astonished to recognize the large scar on its hip. He remembered, this was the lion he and Jabari had rescued 15 years ago from a steel trap. They had freed it, tended to its wound, and returned it to the wild. It had not been seen since, but it turned out, it had been watching over the one who saved it. And now, upon his passing, it returned to bid farewell. The sacred scene brought tears to everyone's eyes. Ao gently stepped forward and placed a hand on the lion's head. It did not resist, simply lowered its head. Afterwards, people gradually approached, sharing in that sacred moment. When the ceremony in the courtyard concluded, Jabari's body was taken to a shaded meadow, a place he often frequented. The lion followed slowly behind, occasionally roaring in pain. There, they dug a simple grave and laid him down gently. Ao and Malik carved his name on a stone placed at the head of the grave, along with the words, 50 years for wildlife. The lion stood by the grave for a long time, not taking its eyes off it. Then it lifted its head and let out a roar that echoed across the plains. A roar that was not of power, but of pain, of gratitude. When everyone had left, it still stood there, all alone. The sun gradually set behind the Serengeti horizon, leaving behind a fiery red sky. The silhouette of the lion by the grave became an unforgettable memory. The next day, all activities in the reserve came to a halt. Locals and rangers came to light incense, placing wildflowers by the grave of Mr. Jabari. Occasionally, the lion was seen returning, standing silently for hours. To it, Mr. Jabari was not only a benefactor, but an indispensable part of life. Ao and Malik often visited the grave, talking to him as if he were still alive, continuing the dream of nature conservation that he had initiated. The story of Mr. Jabari, the legendary ranger, and the loyal lion, became a vivid legend of the Serengeti, leaving a lesson about love, gratitude, and the sacred bond between humans and nature. Dear friends, thank you for following this emotional story. If you love nature and believe in the sincere feelings between humans and all living beings, please like and subscribe to the channel to continue accompanying us. Goodbye and see you again.